Hey there. Welcome back to the show. I'm Teresa. Let's take a deep breath, grab our blankets, and get comfortable. You don't have to perform today. You don't even have to have your camera on. Today, we're going to talk about the morning that every single one of us with chronic illnesses dreads. At 6 a.m., you wake up, and before your feet even hit the floor, sometimes before your head even leaves the pillow, you feel that familiar heavy ache, or that blinding brain fog, or the migraine just sitting at the back of your head. Or maybe your mental health has just completely left the building. Your system is at a 10 out of 10 flare-up. But the world doesn't stop spinning just because your body did. The calendar invites are still staring at you. The lesson plans are still waiting. The students, the clients, the kids, your coworkers, they're still going to need you in just a few hours. What do we usually do when this happens? We try to push through. We drink that extra cup of coffee. We prop ourselves up in a hard chair, and we try to force a B- plus performance out of a body that is running on negative percentage. And you know what happens. We crash harder. And a one-day flare-up turns into a 3-week medical event. And some of us even end up in the hospital. Today, we're calling a truce. We are debunking the myth that you have to white-knuckle your way through a physical crisis. Instead, we are building an emergency subplan for your life. If a brick-and-mortar school teacher can leave a folder of work for a substitute teacher so that they can stay home and take care of themselves, then you can build an automated, low-spoon version of you that can take over when you need to drop completely offline. So let's talk about how to build your low-spoon library. So what exactly is a low-spoon library? If you've been around disability, chronic illness, or neurodivergent spaces for a while, you've probably heard of the spoon theory. Spoons represent units of energy. On a good day, you might start with 20 spoons. But on a 10 out of 10 flare-up day, you wake up with 2. 1 spoon goes to getting out of bed, the other goes to feeding yourself, and you have 0 spoons left over for live teaching, client calls, or content creation. A low spoon library is your vault of high-value, asynchronous assets that you create once you have high energy, so that you can deploy them at a moment's notice when you have 0 energy. Think about it. Why do we panic during a flare-up? It's not just that our bodies hurt. It's the executive dysfunction. When you are in high pain or a high fatigue state, your brain cannot make decisions. Deciding what to teach or what to write feels like doing advanced calculus while running a marathon. The panic comes from the decision making, not just the doing. This library solves this by doing the thinking for your future exhausted self. Let's look at how this applies to our community. If you are a virtual or a brick-and-mortar teacher, your library consists of evergreen, high-engagement, asynchronous lessons. I'm talking about the documentary plus reflective prompt formula, or a pre-recorded interactive slide deck that you made last semester that covers a core concept. If you're a stay-at-home or homeschooling parent, your library might look like a hidden bin of emergency toys and a pre-saved playlist of high-quality educational shows that you only bring out when mom or dad is on the couch. If you're a solopreneur or a content creator, It's a batch of evergreen podcast episodes, blog posts, or automated emails sitting in your drafts labeled "In case of emergency, hit publish." When you have this library, you shift from crisis mode to deployment mode. You aren't scrambling. You're just executing a plan that a healthy version of you has already approved. All right, let's get into the structural engineering of this thing. How do we actually build this vault without giving ourselves more work during an already busy week? We go back to what we talked about in week 1 and we triage. We use our B- effort principle. And here's a step-by-step process to build your personal emergency subplan. Step 1. The 3-tiered traffic light system. Before you build anything, you need to define your days. I like to use a simple traffic light system to stop that internal debate when I wake up to open. For a yellow day, your spoons are low, but you can function if you don't have to speak to humans or look at a bright screen. For a yellow day, your subplan might involve audio-only feedback and using those voice-to-text tools we talked about last week. Use these tools to answer those urgent messages from your bed. It may also be letting your students do independent work while you monitor via chat with your camera off. An orange day, you can think, but you can't perform. There's no way you could lead a live lesson, and you definitely can't record a podcast. This is where your pre-recorded asynchronous content drops in. Then we have a red day. This is that 10 out of 10 flare-up, complete system shutdown. For red days, your plan is entirely automated. A pre-written email template sent to your supervisor, admin, or clients, and a total digital disconnect. Okay, step 2. Go back and audit your greatest hits. You don't need to sit down this weekend and record 10 new lessons or write 5 new articles from scratch. That defeats the entire purpose of sustainability. Instead, look backwards. Look at your past work. What is a lesson, a module, or piece of content or an activity that went incredibly well and required almost no live management for you? If you're a teacher, did you record a brilliant 15-minute explainer video on Zoom 3 months ago? Pull that file, save it to a secure folder, pair it with a simple, reliable Google form reflection questionnaire, and boom, there's your emergency 60-minute lesson plan requiring zero live input from you. You've already done the work. You just need to archive it. Step 3, establish the break in case of emergency infrastructure. Your library is useless if you can't find it when your brain is foggy. It needs a physical or digital home. For me, I prefer Google Drive. Everything for me teaching-wise is in a Google folder. Not just in my school Google, but my personal Google Drive. So whether it's a specific folder on your Google Drive, a dedicated page in Notion, or a literal physical binder on your shelf, label it clearly. Emergency use only. Inside that folder, you need 2 things. The actual asset, the video link, the slide deck, the template, whatever. And a copy-paste text file with the exact instructions and email notification you need to send out. When you're having a 10 out of 10 day, you should only have to highlight text, copy it, paste it into an email or your learning management system, and hit submit. And then you close the laptop, pull up your blanket, and go back to sleep. All right, let's get into the next part. If you're still listening from under your blanket, I'm glad you're here. It's time that we address the elephant in the room because I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now. That little voice in the back of your head is saying, Teresa, if I send out a pre-recorded lesson from last year, or if I put my kids in front of an educational documentary while I lay on the couch, I'm being lazy. I'm failing my students, I'm failing my family, and I'm lowering my standards. Let's dismantle that idea right now. That is the internal corporate taskmaster talking. We don't answer to them in this podcast. I want you to flip the script. Ask yourself this. What is better for your students, your clients, or your kids? Is it better for them to have a live version of you that's running on a 2% battery, where you're irritable, your brain fog makes it hard to finish a sentence, your pain levels are through the roof, and you're radiating stress and exhaustion? Or is it better for them to have a beautifully crafted, highly engaging, asynchronous video that you recorded when you were feeling vibrant, creative, and clear-headed? Using your low spoon library isn't quitting. It's excellent engineering. It is a profound act of care for your audience because you are ensuring they get a high-quality experience even when your physical body cannot provide it live. And more importantly, it's an act of preservation for you. When we accept that a B- performance on a red day, we protect our health so that we can return to an A- plus performance when the flare-up passes. Sustainability over performance. Every single time. Remember, your energy is a finite and precious resource. It is not an infinite well, and treating it like one is the fast track to absolute burnout. Trust me, I know. This episode is a little bit short. I have been not so much practicing what I preach because I'm just like the rest of you. I have my bad days, and I want to push through those days. This last week was the last week of school for students and for my son. I wanted to be the best that I could be. I had progress reports for my special ed students' caseload that I had to get finished. And I pushed through the flare-up. And I've been paying for it this entire weekend. My blood pressure has been on a roller coaster ride since Friday. I've had a migraine, and I've been pushing through. As I'm recording this podcast, I'm laying in bed and finally listening to my body. Is this the content that I really wanted? Is it the product that I wanted for this week? No, but I haven't gotten that emergency subplan from my life quite down yet as far as content creation. Teaching? Yes, I have that. I have folders and folders and folders of lessons that I can use for teaching. But for my content, for here, I haven't gotten there yet. Maybe I'll be able to do that this summer. Work slows down a little bit. I'll be able to get a little bit more done. But for you, here's your homework assignment for this week. It's simple. It's a B- effort, and it will take you less than 15 minutes. I want you to build just one asset for your emergency library. Go through your old files and find one excellent pre-recorded video or one highly reliable independent activity sheet. Create a folder on your desktop or in your Google Drive and name it Emergency Subplan. Drop that file inside. Then, write a quick 3-sentence template email that says, "Hi team, I'm deploying an asynchronous day today due to an unexpected physical conflict. Here is the link to today's independent module." Save it, leave it there. Your future exhausted self will look back and want to give you the biggest hug. Thank you for hanging out with me today. And thank you for taking care of yourselves. Rest when your body asks you to, because rest is a radical and necessary act. I'll see you next week.